get by him.
Allen gets him down with almost an arm bar. Second down and 2 from the 24-yard line. Woody again can't pick up the first down, but you know that's not the worst thing in the world in a situation like this, because that's going to chew up almost all of the 40-second clock, and Saban knows it with 3rd and short coming up, and he says, I've got to conserve one here.
Second. Team timeout.
Chris Collins, he's everywhere.
I snuck up behind you guys here.
So you saw that. What was your read on what took place there?
Well, I definitely saw it where the flag came out early, and I got a clarification as well. Nick Saban could have actually either run all the way down the sideline to get the attention of the official and thrown it right at him, or he could have run on the field and thrown the flag in such a way that they would have seen him. He did neither. He threw it short of the official, and if the officials don't see it, then once the extra point goes through, it's over.
Well, I thought it was very tentative. He can't, as we say, challenge it. He challenged the timing of it. Here it is again. Now we have it in sync, and again, this is not something that can be challenged. But he almost is leisurely coming out onto the field.
It's a little late. It's a little tentative.
It's a toss. And there's the snap. So clearly, and again, not to take away from that, was a fabulous play. It would have been 1st and goal on about the 1.5 or 2-yard line to begin with. At worst, they probably would have had the field goal, if not the touchdown. But I thought, Chris, they had a ton of time because they saw that replay well before Saban came out. And somebody upstairs had to say, you got to challenge this thing. When I say somebody upstairs, you're talking about an assistant coach. And Parker gets taken down, and that's a big play by Ronaldo Hill, because it stops them from converting. It stops the clock. CC, it's always good to see you, my man.
Good to see you guys. I'm just running around here having fun.
I wish I would have known about that rule, or that rule would have been when I was coaching. You can just run on the field anytime you want to.
Yeah, you could have just run out there. Now,
I would have had a hate. I may come back.
Now, it may have taken you a little longer than Nick Saban to get out there, but, you know.
It probably would have, but I'll guarantee you they would know that I was out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any question.
Nothing tentative would have happened out there. That
right
flag.
at the ref rule.
A few coaches around the league saying, you know what, now I know what to do the next time.
Well, you have to run out there. Just start a sprint, and maybe you could do a tag team. I mean, if you can't do it, you know, I mean, Bill Parcells or someone, you have an assistant do it.
You know, in baseball, when they have the designated runner sometime, you might have to have somebody designated flag thrower to get out there in time.
That's right. I mean, look, we live in the world of specialization here, right?
Yeah, because he didn't throw that, right? You know, I mean, when you think about it, and again, I think you have to give the Steelers credit because it was a big play, and you know, and they made the play and they scored a touchdown. But Saban was a little late, and that wasn't much of a throw.
You're exactly right.
And meanwhile, here's another big play, because this is a 44-yard field goal attempt to try to make it a 7-point lead. Jeff Reed, and again, it's a perfect night. The wind should be no factor in a stadium where the wind swirls a lot. Gardocki to put it down to try to make it 24-17. And that kick well to the left. Well to the left. A low kick. I don't know if somebody got a hand on it or what, but that's a huge break now, of course, for Miami. Not only stopping the clock, not only stopping the opportunity for a touchdown or a field goal, but getting the ball back now with 3:09 to play.
No blinking, flinching, or twitching.
There's no room in there. There's no space.
Not when victory is measured by millimeters.
We call it the madhouse. Great comeback.
The competition is dead brilliant. And if they're on target, the Yanks may beat the Europeans at their own game. $1 million US at stake. The World Series of Darts. Tonight, only on ESPN.
Hello there. When does a good idea become a bad idea? Why, of course, when it's overused and abused. That was the case with putting the ball out of play when an opponent needed medical attention. Many suspect that players and teams were using injuries to slow the game down and maybe even gain an unfair advantage by forcing players to put the ball out of play. It seemed like it almost had become a tactical point. In England, the decision was made that only the ref should have the call when to stop play for an injury. So don't expect in England to see players knock the ball into touch anymore. It's the ref's call and only his. I am sure we'll get used to it quickly, and so should the players. The only question may be when English players play in the Champions League, then it may cause some confusing moments. Remember, it only applies to England, not the rest of Europe. Considering the way it was going, I think it's a good idea to leave it up to the referee. What do you think? That's what's in the Owl Young Bag this week, and I'm Tommy Smith with a Y.
Friday Night Fights on ESPN. One of the most exciting super middleweights right now, undefeated Alan Green, continues to climb the rankings with his poise and determination. And now he'll do battle against an experienced Emmett Linton. Tonight on ESPN.
Steelers lead the Dolphins 21-17, 3:09 remaining in NFL kickoff 2006. The first game of the 2006 season. Let's send you back to Heinz Field. Steelers trying to hold on to beat the Dolphins.
The clock at the 2-minute warning. They have plenty of time here to get down the field, and then Joey Porter picks it off. So you had Polamalu picking off one, Porter picks off the other. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. Well, you got a lot of studs on that defense, but those are the two big ones. The two P's, Polamalu and Porter.
Joey Porter dropped back on that one, and Dante Culpepper didn't see him. Yeah, we always say that big players make big plays in big games when you need them. Polamalu 1, Joey Porter 2.
Third career touchdown for Joey Porter. The others on fumbles. So the man who graces the cover of Sports Illustrated proves there ain't no jinx this week. Extra point is good, and with 2:59 to play, the Pittsburgh lead is 11.
Yeah, let's look and see what Dante Culpepper saw on Joey Porter. You're going to see him. He's down here like he's rushing, like he's going to rush. And then instead of rushing, he starts and then drops back. And Culpepper doesn't read him as a defender. See him starting, and then he just goes back, and then he undercuts that pass. Culpepper looked out there, saw Joey Porter as a rusher. Then the ball snapped. Joey Porter became a pass defender, and a pretty good one.
Culpepper has seen his last two passes picked off. Little bust for the coach.
Did Joey Porter just kiss him on the neck?
Yes, he did. Little bust, and I don't mean Jerome.
Let's see that again. Yes, he did. More things you can do.
Yeah.
And Bill Cowher's right was Dick LeBeau, the defensive coordinator, who does such a good job of mixing up these defenses. You know, you watch the Steelers, you watch them on film, and you're never sure what they're doing, where they're coming from. You know, 5, 6, 2 linemen, 3 linemen. I mean, all those combinations of players, and they're all over the place.
And that kick looked like he mishit it. Is fielded at the 29-yard line by Wes Welker. And so back comes the defense, and Dante Culpepper has just watched his night explode in the last two passes. The pickoff by Polamalu, and then the coup de grace with Joey Porter.
You know, sometimes we forget when we're looking at a game, you know, and you just look at the quarterback. Roethlisberger's out, Batch is starting. Miami has Culpepper, therefore Miami will be better. But nothing happened to the Steeler defense. And then defense can win games for you also.
Oh, yeah. From the 28. Culpepper. And that pass is dislodged. Randy McMichael was the intended receiver, and Bryant McFadden made his presence felt.
Yeah, he ought to control himself, though. I mean, they do have a rule against that, is you can make that hit, but then you can't taunt the guy, and that's a little excessive celebration. I mean, that's a good hit, but you don't have to get too carried away with yourself, because that's what you're supposed to do. But that's one thing about these Steelers, and whether they have 5 defensive backs, 6 defensive backs, whatever, they're all good tacklers and big hitters.
And there's a sack. Who else? Joey Porter.
Holy moly, what did Joey Porter just say there?
He said the game is over.
Well, I think he was saying, Dante Culpepper, take your roller and kick it out of this place. That's what I think he's saying. Dante Culpepper, don't come in my house and do that. Watch him, he gives a Culpepper roll. Right there, see? And then he gives a kick. Whoop.
And then Dante says, hold on a second. We still got a little something left. As Chris Chambers makes the catch, and that'll be a first down on a 3rd and 18. Up to the 39-yard line. Miami does not have a timeout.
Right, and in the situation where they need 2 scores, so you know it's not a real 2-minute drill, because you're in a 4-minute drill where you need 2 scores.
Down by 11, you can go either way here. If you get to a situation where you can kick a field goal, you do that too, and then try to recover the onside kick. You don't need the 8 before you need the 3. Either way will do. 1st and 10, flag. Culpepper comes back this way to McMichael. L.J. Shelton will get called for the hold here.
Holding. 70. Offense. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
L.J. Shelton had his work cut out for him with Joey Porter over there on that side most of the time, and which he really gives you, a real problem there, because he'll get down like a rusher and speed rush you, and then he'll get down like a rusher and drop back, and you're blocking air, so you don't know. And then you got to block the next guy out, and they put that tackle, this left tackle, the guy that's out there with no tight end on his side, they put him out on an island.
1st and 20 now from the 29-yard line. Dante going deep, and nobody is home. Well, John, for the Steelers, they win it. You don't have Roethlisberger. You get away with, not away with one. I mean, they were still probably favored to win the game mildly, even without Ben Roethlisberger. But you know you're going to get that guy back. You got 11 days to get him back at Jacksonville, and then you've got Cincinnati. So you would have lost this one, all of a sudden it would have been a little early nervousness in this town.
Right, but this is a good team that handles adversity well. When I heard about the Ben Roethlisberger thing, I kind of said to myself that doesn't mean they're going to lose the game.
And the way it looks right now, they will not lose the game, as James Farrier comes up the middle for the sack as we come down to the 2-minute warning. Pittsburgh with a late surge, leading by 11.
Hello there. When does a good idea become a bad idea? Why, of course, when it's overused and abused. That was the case with putting the ball out of play when an opponent needed medical attention. Many suspect that players and teams were using injuries to slow the game down and maybe even gain an unfair advantage by forcing players to put the ball out of play. It seemed like it almost had become a tactical point. In England, the decision was made that only the ref should have the call when to stop play for an injury. So don't expect in England to see players knock the ball into touch anymore. It's the ref's call and only his. I am sure we'll get used to it quickly, and so should the players. The only question may be when English players play in the Champions League, then it may cause some confusing moments. Remember, it only applies to England, not the rest of Europe. Considering the way it was going, I think it's a good idea to leave it up to the referee. What do you think? That's what's in the All Young Bag this week, and I'm Tommy Smith with a Y.
No blinking, flinching, or twitching.
There's no room in there. There's no space.
Not when victory is measured by millimeters.
We call it the madhouse. Great comeback.
The competition is dead brilliant. And if they're on target, the Yanks may beat the Europeans at their own game. $1 million US at stake, the World Series of Darts. Tonight, only on ESPN.
Watched her man hook up with Heath Miller for that 87.
Which has had a major impact on this football game. Had a great year last year as well. 47 sacks. That was second. Rush yards, they were third. Rushing attempts, they were best. Yards per play, they were the best. Points per game, second. They were just terrific all the way around. Back to Pittsburgh.
That was a big play. That was a great play by the Steelers.
And that pass is incomplete as Brian McFadden forced the issue. Coming in, McFadden, one of the extra defensive backs, and probably an emerging star. A guy made a big play at the end of the Indianapolis game last year in the playoffs by knocking down a Manning pass.
Yeah, I think that, Bill Cowher was talking about this team, and he says, it's not the same as the Super Bowl team, and that was the congratulations thing. And he said, you like to have swagger, he said, but I think we have too much swagger for a team that hasn't done anything yet this year. But they're doing something tonight that kind of deserves having swagger.
Yeah. They had some nervous moments as Miami took the lead. They had the fumble down deep in Miami territory as the pass is intended for Wes Welker and broken up by Deshae Townsend on a 4th and 28. And now Pittsburgh can run the clock out. So those two big defensive plays by Pittsburgh. After the Heath Miller touchdown, you had the pick here by Polamalu. They were able to take some time off the clock after that. Reed missed the field goal. But then as soon as Miami got the ball back, Joey Porter wrote a finish to it. Backs to Miller again. You go 87 yards here after they had fumbled on the prior long drive and came away completely frustrated. And then Miller, of course, who did not, in our eyes, get into the end zone, but it didn't matter because the flag came out and the officials didn't see it. And again, that's not to take anything away. It still would have been a 1st and goal on the 1 or 1.5 yard line.
It's hard to believe that a guy that gets that involved in coaching and is that passionate about the game, and as Bill Cowher would think about retiring young, doesn't it? He puts. Most coaches do, but he puts his whole body, his whole self goes into each game.
Well, if you were to say to me, would you bet that Cowher would coach 8 more months or 8 more years, I would go for the years. I think he has a better chance to coach 8 more years than 8 more months.
I do too. You think of how long he's been doing it here and how well he's been doing it here. And, he's the constant. There's been different players, different quarterbacks, different defense, different everything. But the one constant is that guy right there.
There's Polamalu in the backfield as a safety valve. Joey Porter lining up in the backfield. So these guys do it all, and Bill Cowher has watched his team, which ended last year with 4 regular season wins and 4 postseason wins, begin the 2006 season with a W. And now 11 days off before the game at Jacksonville. They get Roethlisberger back, and right now they begin with a victory on opening night here in Pittsburgh.
And so the Pittsburgh Steelers have defeated the Miami Dolphins 28-17 on opening night for the NFL in 2006. They've won 9 games in a row, Pittsburgh, including those 4 in the postseason last year. And coming up on Sunday Night Football, it is the Manning brothers, Eli and Kate Payton, the Indianapolis Colts, and the New York Giants from New York. Check your local listings for the time in your area. ESPNDeportes.com, ESPN.com will give you that information. The Giants and the Colts on Sunday night. Check your local listings in your area. So the Miami Dolphins had Dante Culpepper at quarterback, but he couldn't make the difference. Joey Porter did. Nate Washington did with a tremendous touchdown catch early. And without Ben Roethlisberger in uniform, Charlie Batch helps lead the Pittsburgh Steelers to a win on opening night, 28-17. You've been watching the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPNDeportes.com or ESPN.com. We hope you enjoyed NFL Kickoff 2006 on ESPN.
New on Orbit, Al Jazeera Sports Channel +1 and +2, the most popular sports channels in the region, which provide a wide coverage of the best international and regional sports, including Italian Serie A, Spanish League, and much more. Al Jazeera Sports Channel +1 and +2 are part of Orbit's mega and prime subscription packages, GCC countries only. The channels will be located on channels 16 and 17, now showing on Orbit. Orbit, bringing you a world of sports.
The Pittsburg Steelers are Super Bowl champions as they defeat the Seattle Seahawks 21-10.
Hey, what's good? Welcome to Sports Center with John Buccigross. I'm Scott Van Pelt. That was Super Bowl 40, Super Bowl 41, February the 4th, and the march to Miami started on Thursday.
And it wouldn't be completely shocking to see the Miami Dolphins become the first team to play on its home field in a Super Bowl. That long road starts on the home field of the defending Super Bowl champions. The opening night of the 2006 NFL regular season begins in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it took a while to get one for the thumb. And good to see Jerome Bettis taking public transportation to the game. Steelers honoring their previous 4 championship teams. Franco Harris there, Lynn Swann, L.C. Greenwood. No Ben Roethlisberger, hat on backwards. Dante Culpepper begins his Miami Dolphin career. First quarter, 4th and 1, and Bill Cowher has the confidence of a ring on his finger to go for it on 4th down. Willie Parker makes the play. Later in the drive, Charlie Batch waiting. Nate Washington, touchdown. Batch doesn't really have a tough act to follow. Don't forget Roethlisberger in the Super Bowl, 9 of 21, 123 yards, 2 picks. What a great catch by Nate Wash. He looks like number 88 back in the day. Roethlisberger approves. Still in the second, Willie Parker, undrafted. This is a guy who had 181 yards his senior year at North Carolina. He is fresh. 29 carries, 115 yards, another 100-yard game by a Steeler running back, their 30th straight NFL record. And then Charlie Batch to Hines Ward. Steelers at the half lead, 14-10. Second half, Dolphins down by 4. Culpepper out of the pocket and finds Marty Booker. And there goes Booker. Booking. Culpepper, 18 completions in 37 attempts, 262. Same drive, 3rd and 2. Dolphins take the lead. Ronnie Brown. Dolphins didn't run the ball too well, but they do get a couple of scores with Brown. They're up 17-14 to the final frame. 1st and goal. Steelers appear to regain the lead. However, it's a turnover. Fumble. Recovered by Will Allen. Watch it again. An 81-yard drive ends like this. Batch never gets control. It bangs off Faneca into the arms of Allen. Things look good for Miami. Steelers get another chance deep in their own territory. However, Batch to Heath Miller. A bit of a miscommunication in the Dolphins secondary. And here with the live eye, it appeared that Miller clearly goes out of bounds before he hits the pylon. However, whether it's the Dolphins assistant coaches or whomever is supposed to get in Nick Saban's ear and say, hey, challenge this play. The ball appeared to be on about the 1-yard line as his foot hits the ground, but Saban takes time. By the time he throws out the red flag, the officials are watching the lineup for PAT. They don't see it. Touchdown stands. And then Joey Porter, 9th career INT, the first time He has tasted the end zone, and the Steelers go on to win, and they seal it with a kiss, 28-17. It's the Steelers' first win since Super Bowl 40. They lost all their preseason games. Dolphins won their last 6 games of last season, but surprise, there was no 8-month carryover. No Super Bowl hangover for the Steelers. They were energetic, efficient, and smart. They played like champions.
We can't challenge something until we see it. So we saw it in the box, and when we saw it in the box, I threw the flag. And it was thrown well before they kicked the field goal, and the officials didn't see it. And they said they didn't see it, and I said, well, whose fault is that?
I can't say enough about our football team. You know, the resiliency, the way they responded, and really the never real state of panic it ever set in on our football team.
You never want to be that guy that's going to kind of is going to kind of take a step back, and that's not what I want to do. And, be able to keep things going offensively and try to do everything that we want to do without changing the game plan, and I think I'm able to do that.
Like I said, I love that guy for real, man, and just out of the moment, he was right there hugging me, he wouldn't let me go, and I was just like, get away from me.
I was pretty excited at the time.
You okay with me kissing?
It was better than the last time when I initiated it.
Bill talk about the time he kissed Cordell Stewart. A lot of affection in Pittsburgh throughout the
years. You do a good job, you get a smooch.
Another win streak ended by the Steelers. Since 2004, Pittsburgh has snapped 6 separate win streaks of at least 6 games. Dolphins had won 6 straight entering Thursday's opener. Most notably in 2004, the Steelers beat New England to end an NFL record 21-game win streak.
Joined now by Darren Woodson and Mark Schlereth. Each man has 3 Super Bowl rings here to help us break down Game 1 of the season. Darren, I'll get to you in just a second. And Mark, I want to begin with you. Probably no more important position in the league to have experience than backup quarterback. Charlie Batch showed that in this game. 49 starts. When he had to make a play in the 4th quarter with his arm, which most folks thought maybe he wouldn't have to do for them to win, he made that play. How impressed with you with what he did?
I was very impressed with what he did. And when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're talking about an identity. You're talking about a football team that knows what they want to do. But they went into this game saying, Charlie, you're going to have to make a few plays first. You're going to have to convert on some 3rd downs. Here you see a blown coverage. Heath Miller across on a little 7 route. He hits him perfectly in stride. The rest is history. Heath Miller gets down there for the touchdown. Really salts this game, helps salt this game away along with the defense. Charlie Batch was so impressive. He was so good. He was so accurate, and when he had to make a play, you saw him on some blitz pickups where he had to throw it down there, make some tight throws, make some stick throws. He did it all tonight. 15, 25, 209 yards, and 3 TDs. He did it when they had to count on him, and he was awesome.
And not like the situation where you just pound the ball away, give it. You don't have the bus anymore. You can't just run it out, because they had to make a play because they were behind, and he made that play. After that play, though, Darren, we see it looks for sure like Miller's gone out of bounds. No flag is thrown until it's too late. Take us through that situation where Saban doesn't throw the flag and didn't challenge the play. What were you thinking as you saw this unfold?
Well, he has to have some kind of help. Someone upstairs had to step up or say something in his ear that, hey, we have to challenge this play. Well, my thinking is this. If you're going to pull the flag, throw the flag. Don't hesitate. Don't pump fake it. Run out there on the field and make sure the referee sees you with the flag in your hand and that it's on the ground, because if you want to challenge something, you have to get out there and be strong with it and make sure that you get your point across.
And as we're all watching this unfold, everyone's thinking they're going to challenge. And they just didn't challenge. In the end, it was too late. And then after the game, a statement was made. We have a statement from Mike Pereira, NFL Vice President of Officiating, and here's what it says. When we took the pages away 3 years ago, what he means is there's no more buzzers. You can't buzz the referees. We emphasize to coaches that it's a situation where they are allowed to leave the box to get an official's attention. Trying to determine when a coach throws the flag is not reviewable. What he's saying there is they couldn't review whether or not he had thrown the flag before the kick came. So in a sense, there was nothing they could do. And then ultimately, the pick comes from Porter. They salt away the win. And for Miami fans, Darren, it's easy to sort of focus on the way the game ended for Culpepper. But what about the way the game started and the positives they can take away from the fact that their quarterback is on the field and looks like a pretty good leader for them? What'd you take out of that?
Well, in the first half, I really liked what Dante was doing out there in the first half. He took whatever the Steelers were giving him. If that was a crossing route, and you watch Ronnie Brown come out of the backfield here, he runs a crossing route. Dante doesn't see anything in the back of the end zone. Hit his big running back, and then they get those extra yards. but he was taking what he was given. And here you go again. He sees there's nothing out, throws the out, he floats this ball. It's a little cause for concern because that could have got picked off. But again, he drops back again here, rolls out, and this is the one he throws on the line. That's the kind of throw you want to see Dante Culpepper make. On the run, you throw that ball on the zip line, and that's what you get in Dante. But what I really liked about him is that he was throwing the ball, the crossing routes, and whatever the Steelers gave him, he took advantage of it.
And on that play action, you showed pretty good mobility. Miraculous that the man's even on the field. So the Miami Dolphins have their new quarterback. Didn't work out in this first game, but he is back on the field, which is a positive. Darren Woodson, Mark Schlereth, thanks for the analysis, fellas. And we will see you later in the show.
That's right, Scott. Much more on Steelers-Dolphins coming up. But
for the day, another missed practice for Panthers All-Pro wide receiver Steve Smith. He remains a big fat question mark for Sunday's opener against the Falcons with a strained left hamstring. Meanwhile, Ravens running back Jamal Lewis missed a portion of practice on Thursday. He remains questionable for Sunday's game at Tampa Bay with a hip injury. Patriots linebacker, the man who is, some will say, the heart and the soul of that squad, practiced with a cast on his surgically repaired right wrist. His first practice since July 31st when he broke that wrist. The 11-year vet questionable for the opener. More NFL now. The Coors Light Cold Hard Facts. Chris McKendry, your host.
Coors Light Cold Hard Facts, a six-pack of questions, previewing, predicting even the upcoming season. Mark Schlereth, Darren Woodson here to break it down. Darren, you're up first. Who's going to have the better overall season, Terrell Owens or Steve Smith?
Well, I'm going with Steve Smith because Terrell Owens is coming into a new offense. So Steve Smith, of course, one-on-one on the outside, probably the best wide receiver in football. Add that with Keyshawn Johnson on the other side. Steve Smith no longer will be double-teamed. He'll have some one-on-one situations, and we all know what he can do when he gets out in the open field. He's a star in the making. He was a star last year. He's going to be even bigger this year.
All right, Mark, you're up next. Question number 2 of our six-pack of questions. Which comeback quarterback has the most to prove this season? Favre, Culpepper, or Palmer?
Well, I'm going to go with Brett Favre. And Culpepper and Palmer proved it in the preseason that they are healthy, they are ready to roll. But Brett Favre, to me, is a guy that has to hone it in. He's got to manage his game if this Green Bay Packer team is going to have a chance to perform. No more of this tippy-toe stuff, no more throwing it around. You have got to be on target and help your team win. You can't go freelancing, and that's what his problem has been in the past.
Darren, which rookie quarterback will get the most starts, Leinart, Young, or Cutler?
I'm going with Leinart. And when you look at what's happening with this Arizona team and Kurt Warner, in the past, Kurt Warner has struggled as far as being healthy and playing an entire season. Leinart's a guy who understands that pro-style offense. This team seemed to rally behind him in the preseason game, even though he held out. This kid's ready to play now.
All right, under-the-radar player ready for a breakout season. Mark?
Well, I'm going to go, and you guys are going to be surprised. I'm going to go with my former team, the Denver Broncos, and Mike Bell. Not the T-Bell, the M-Bell, because Mike Bell right now understands what he is asked to do, and that is to run downhill and, boom, be physical at the end of those runs. Listen, you in the Denver Broncos system, you're going to get 1,200 yards. You're going to get 12 TDs. He's going to get plenty of opportunity. Mike Bell, my breakout runner for the Denver Broncos.
Well, far from under the radar, they play each other in primetime Sunday. Better performance when the Colts and the Giants meet Week 1.
I'm going with
Eli.
Big Brother, of course, Chris. You got to go with the Big Brother, Peyton Manning. Peyton is a guy that understands his game. He has those weapons on the outside, and Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. They know how to pass, throw the ball. They know how to run the ball. This is Peyton Manning's stage. He's going to upstage his little brother.
All right, well, right now, all 32 teams have hope, Mark. Dash somebody's. Week 1 upset to watch.
Well, I'm going to go Chicago Bears traveling to the Green Bay Packers up in Lambeau Field, and I'm going with the Green Bay Packers to upset the Chicago Bears. Why? Because the Chicago Bears have zero offense. They've done nothing in the offseason to improve themselves, and that does not bode well. I know they were the NFC North champions last year, but at some point, the defense and the offense will become fractured because there is no offense, and that creates tough times in Chicago. Mark my words.
Preseason. The preseason's over with. The big boys are playing now, Mark.
I know. I understand that.
Week 1 upset.
Ooh, you know what? I was going to go Chicago. I was going to go Chicago. You know, there aren't going to be any upsets this weekend. It is what it is this week.
All right, Darren Woodson taking the easy way out. Mark Schlereth, Coors Light, Cold Hard Facts.
Coors Light, cold hard facts. Brought to you by Rocky Mountain Refreshing Coors Light. Taste the cold.
All right, time to reset Sports Center. The big story, of course, the NFL season underway, and the Steelers win on opening night over the Dolphins. The key play, they're down 17-14 late in the fourth. Charlie Batch to Heath Miller. It appears that Miller's going to step out of bounds about the 1-yard line. The Dolphins challenge it too late. Nick Saban could have ran on the field and got the officials' attention, his coaches. They could have called timeout, perhaps. Ed Werder, more now on flag football.
In the game's most pivotal moment, Steelers backup quarterback Charlie Batch threw an 87-yard touchdown pass to Heath Miller that, upon further review, appeared to neither cover 87 yards nor produce a touchdown. Replays clearly showed that Miller was knocked out of bounds short of the goal line. But Dolphins coach Nick Saban's last-second attempt to challenge the play before the extra point went unnoticed by the officiating crew.
We had to see it in the box. We can't challenge something until we see it. So we saw it in the box, and when we saw it in the box, I threw the flag. And it was thrown well before they kicked the field goal, and the officials didn't see it. And they said they didn't see it. And I said, well, whose fault is that?
I've never seen an extra point take so long. We were trying to get it off because I didn't just know when he went down. I was just, but I know it came out.
I don't think what happened there should happen.
In addition to throwing red challenge flags, head coaches used to have a buzzer system they could use to notify officials they wanted a play reviewed. But that was discontinued 2 years ago. As a result, Cowher told me that if he were in that situation, he'd run from the coaching box and get the officials' attention by any means necessary. In Pittsburgh, I'm Ed Werder, ESPN.
Down before the pylon. All right, Dolphin fans, though, that play obviously could have been a big play, but the Steelers probably would have punched it anyway. It was about the quarterback position, and Charlie Batch was a man who had a great night. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dante Culpepper, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
When SportsCenter rolls on here with Matt